Good evening, my good people. Good evening. And these days I have to be inspired to come back and do some updating on some things. And it's important, when I hear things and see things, it causes me to really respond to some stuff. So basically, again, I'm gonna try not to hold you, but it's very difficult to try to shorten this up. But I'll try to do the best I can. This video or this outreach is inspired by most of you guys may be familiar with GoBlack to Africa, and he's done some great things over in Africa, giving us a bird's eye view or up and close view of what's going on the grounds in Africa and the people and things like that. And most of his videos has been positive about Africa and Africa's conditions, but at the same time, he lets us on to some truths about there's no perfect place, and Africa itself has its uh, problems as well as issues. It depends on what level of issues that you want to deal with. You want to deal with the issues that you've been plagued with here over in America, or you want to deal with some other issues that may exist in Africa. So that's up to for one to judge. But his latest video, I believe, is called. I took a few notes, guys. I believe it's called "Rethinking Living in Africa," something to that nature. So you pull it up, and he made a couple comments that I think that warrant some more research on his part and some more understanding on his part when you start talking about African culture, spirituality, history, and colonization and things like that, and dealing with and how things like that affect people in general, human beings, and so we have to dig deeper, man, and that's some of the things that I get into with some of my coworkers, not looking at the root cause of things and just looking at things on the surface. We can't continue to operate like that and not look at the root cause. And to do that, one has to go back and do some research with history and studying history. That's why history is so important, because history sets up the present and the future. So to negate history, it kind of puts you in the tailspin. And like something that I uh, use a parody in being a leaf on a tree, wherever the wind blows, therefore you go. That's why you have black folks out there celebrating St. Patty's Day, not knowing exactly what's going on with it, just wearing green and just getting out there. Okay. So anyway, he made a few comments. Go look at the video, and I really think he don't have a real good understanding, because he was commenting on Africa's present condition and basically why haven't they got themselves together? And then he was coming from a Hebrew Israelite point of view, and I think he was basically saying that some of the African traditions or spirituality or whatever it is that they're partaking upon, if it's not working for you, then do something else. And I think he was kind of like assuming that uh, being a Hebrew Israelite and looking at God the way the Bible kind of depicts it, the Most High, things like that, that could, could change your present condition. And he brought up an example of you know that he came to light by in his younger days, that if it wasn't working, do something else. And then, people make that a statement. If something ain't working for you and you continue to do the same thing, that's an example of insanity. All those things. But in dealing with Africa, that what sparked me to come on and do this video. Now, I don't think he have a good understanding of Africa's present condition. The political landscape. I used to use something in saying that, do you think that the Africans was chilling at the beach while slavery was going on in this country? They were being persecuted. Matter of fact, they was persecuted first before even being brought over here. And they was going through the same thing, the colonization. That's why in 1884 with the Berlin Conference, when they chopped it all up, that's why you got people speaking Portuguese, English, French, and things of that nature. They was colonizing them and doing whatever it is that they wanted to do to them at that particular point. So you have to understand the present condition. And also he may kind of insinuate that if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything, meaning that you haven't lived, and if there's that you have something that you're willing to die for, you know. And so he made that particular statement as well. But in understanding Africa's present condition, you know, it almost like looking at America's present condition, Black folks in America, you know, we do a lot of crazy things, a lot of stupidity, a lot of romanticizing the system of here, and people abroad look at us like we crazy. How can you got, like I said before, you got white folks looking at us, how can you follow this particular system? And being that all the things they have done to you, how could you do that? So people will look at us as being mentally ill. You know, they got to look at us mentally ill. I do. Like Malcolm said, what if you're not angry, angry Black man, then something is wrong with you. How are we still allowing the system to teach our children when we know that all they're doing is teaching them how to be a better servant and a slave and things of that nature? And there are certain arenas that we don't have anything. We just not learning about finance and economics, entrepreneurship, passing down generational wealth. We just getting into that the last 15, 20 years. What I'm saying? So the system's not geared about, helping you take his foot off your neck. When are you going to come to that realization? So I'm saying we got problems over here, but you don't know the psychological ramifications of things. And he made it seem like, that, there's a possibility that, that people wasn't revolting. There was thousands of revolts here and in Africa of people not going along with the program of slavery and fighting against the Europeans and the British coming in. And so there was fights, many fights here. They just let you know about neck turning a lot. It was plenty revolts here. So people just didn't take it and was just docile and passive and just sat by and watch things happen. No, it didn't happen like that. It didn't happen. Of course, they're not going to tell you. They don't want to inspire you at all. So I really think he really don't know the present conditions and what happens, because that takes you into the mindset of an individual. Once you're trained, once you're controlled, once they have stolen everything out of you and who you were and what you were about as a people, your culture, your background. In order for them to be successful on how they was with African Americans, they had to, it's from what first take you away from your homeland and your country, and then ridicule, criticize, and everything that was about you and your culture. They had to do all of those things in order to have a successful servant and a slave. Then get into your mindset and making you think your present condition is okay. It's all right. You know, like I've mentioned before with one of my doctor friends that talked about how they, got a bird and dealing with psychological warfare. You got to think it's how do they get an elephant and a lion and whales to act like they do? They take them out of their environment. They make them think their environment is okay. They make them think that their caretaker has their best interests at heart. Then they reward them for good behavior. So then they separate us, see, because they already broke up your culture. Now that's why you used to have the overseer and put the whip in the overseer's hand, and he think he on had to come up because master let him eat from the crumbs of the table, and see things like that. But if things like that, so if you're not culturally sound and don't understand what's going on, see, that's a psychological warfare thing that is still taking place in Africa. That's the point. Because he's wondering why ain't they got together? Why ain't they rose up? And they are coming. They are coming. See, and you got to understand cycles. If he wants to go by the Bible, which is a tampered document, if he wants to go by the Bible, look how many times people has been into bondage and persecuted in the Bible. How many years? A whole bunch of years. And God, for one reason or not, let that and allow that to happen until a point in time. Things are about cycles. If you understand African culture and spirituality and indigenous people in China and India, they talk about cycles and the Kali Yuga cycle and things like that. There are ups and downs. When you look at the Bible and you see in Revelation, they talked about a period of time where there's going to be peace on earth for 1,000 years. There are going to be hellacious things going on for a period of time. And then you're going to come into light. You see, that's cycle. So you got to understand cycle. So if you're just looking at the present condition in this little short amount of time with people in bondage, people going through what 1,000 years is a short time when you start talking about speaking in terms of cycles and thousands of years, a couple hundred years, 300 years, 400 years, that's very short when you're speaking on talking about the creator and the most high. So you got to understand history, cycles, and things like that. You can't keep judging things from what you see, the end product. What is the root cause of what's going on? And then put historical data together to formulate opinion on what's going on. And then have your finger on the pulse of what's going on even today. A lot of woke people are waking up to this is the time by entering into the age of Aquarius. So you need to understand the present condition and what's going on. And those things are changing. He was trying to compare some of the things that's going on in the Arab communities, that they're able to build cities and they use their gold for this and their oil for that, and they built cities. They still had their culture intact. You got to understand, culture is very important. It teaches one how to live with one another, what the purpose of man, woman, and child, how to do things in tandem. It teaches you the greater good for the greater number. All those things were stripped away from some black folks, even on the continent. Some of them is holding on to their traditional values. But you got to understand, through the sword and through the gun, Islam and Christianity came in, destroying and conquering. There's so many deaths that's related to Islam and Christianity. Then you can think about, if you studied your history, you would understand that it ain't been peaceful. You, I'm gonna come back and show you that this one, I think Indian guy went through the Bible and showed you over the thousands and thousands of deaths supposedly God condoned in the Bible. I was tripping. So that's why I say tamper with you. You don't understand even the document that you're reading and where it comes from. You know, so I think he needs to do that. And that's what I'm saying about people responding to mental illness. You look at the Willie Lynch situation, the Willie Lynch letter. Pitting folks against each other. Those black folks are being manipulated. It's a mental thing. There's mental how can I say the things that are common amongst people. Like when we used to teach in school, everybody want to belong to somebody. Everybody, wants to be with a winner. Little things like that. Everybody wants to be with somebody. Everybody wants to be loved. There's some certain emotional things and attributes that is common amongst people. They want to feel secure. They want to be around people. They want to interact with people. And this country preyed on those type of things, especially black folks being a spiritual people. They knew if they was able to control one's religion, they can control the people. And got you thinking about hell and condemnation if you talked about formulating any type of revolution, get it in the afterworld and turn the other cheek. What do you think all that was about? That was about control. That was about control. You don't think he knew that? Look up the Council of Nicaea when they in 325 AD, one of the first councils. They had several. When they got together with scholars and they made all decisions on how they was going to write the Bible and what books they was going to keep in and what they was going to kick out. Because we lack the knowledge of information and historical data, we fall victim to everybody's agenda and all the propaganda. Okay, so you understand what a mental person, what Carter G, as I repeat again, what Carter G said, once you control a man's mind, you ain't got to worry about his actions. He'll go to a back door without you telling him to. If one ain't there, he'll make a back door. Why did he say that? He knows the power of being mentally trained. What that would do, a people would see freedom right in front of them and won't even elect to go. To some people would not even elect to go and free themselves because of the mental conditioning. That's how deep it is. That's how deep it is. So yes, Africa's sitting on all these resources. Okay. And why won't they free themselves? Because of mental conditioning. And we're not gonna talk about the military might and all the other things that they have done and played the game to to get people to conform in their leaders. Go get the book, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And they talk about how they go in and choose leaders and how they assassinate people who wants to do the right thing for their people. Do some research. You think people just and the study of Africa and Africa's conditions is just now coming about because most of us turned our heads towards knowing anything about what's going on in Africa. We just now beginning to understand the political landscape and the geopolitical stuff that is going on in Africa. We just not getting into that point. So I don't think he was versed enough to really come to those conclusions and to deal with the and saying that I think he was kind of insinuating that the Hebrew Israelite faith. Come on, that's a part of the Bible. You got to understand that this stuff came from Africa. It came from on the continent of Africa. Look at the 42 Negative Confessions and the laws of Ma'at and Christianity, and look at the scribes that's on the walls in Egypt where they show or the birth story, the resurrection, and all that. All that came from Africa, you know. So, and then you want to base everything off of one vein, off of one book that is not backed up with any historical data. You have to have the data to back up the information. All you got is allegorical stories, myths, and this, that, and other. And you got nothing to prove it. Go look at Wikipedia. I was just showing somebody and talking to somebody about it before. They didn't decide if Jesus was going to be actually the Son of Man 200 or 300 years in the Council of Nicaea after Jesus came and gone. They were still debating: is he the Son of Man? Is he going to be really God? Is we going to make him out? Check up that in the Gnostics. Look up the Gnostics and what they believe and how they kicked the Gnostics out of the council. And Constantine, because they were saying, no, y'all making folks real. Jesus was a man. I'm just telling you the facts. And so it warrants some reading and some understanding. That's what I'm talking about. The Bible was being tampered with, it was. And we have to look at that and look at its origins and see where it came from. And it came from ancient texts. Then he went in and talked about the Israelites. Now, let me paint this picture for you guys. Okay. Let me set it up by saying this. If you look, one of the interpretations of the Sphinx with the man's head and the animal body was this. It said, it states that man must learn how to rule over its beastly nature. Those beastly nature things is like envy, jealousy, hatred. All those things is negative. And if you're in the cosmic world, in the conscious world, we're talking about low-level vibratory energy, resonating in those low-level thinking things. Now, God is omnipresent, omnipotent, know the beginning and the end. Okay. Now, don't you think that God, if he created human beings, and you know the nature of man at times, and God is telling us from what the Egyptians depicted, unless they thought of a higher level of spirituality than God, because these are the principles they tried to live by, raising your consciousness to a certain level. Look up the laws of Ma'at before you enter into the underworld or the afterworld. You got your heart supposed to be light as a feather. And in all these things, you got to confess to say, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. So if God knows the beginning and the end and this, that, and that, then he goes in and make a special people, the Israelites. Don't you think that's going to cause a little animosity, or God's got favorites? Or even like with women, God can't talk to women. So God is sexist too. God get mad and all that. God is the creator of the universe, people. How in the H-E-double-L God gonna get mad at anything or anybody? Be jealous, God. Those are manly attributes, y'all. If they talking about raise your level of spirit consciousness to a different level, how in the hell you get mad at somebody? Getting jealous. He acting like regular human beings. Come on, people. You believe that? So he gonna have a chosen people out of all these people, and ain't nobody gonna get mad around it. You don't think they're gonna have be envy and jealous towards these supposedly chosen people who God created everything that's supposed to be good and all this other kind of stuff? Come on, man. That's some hokey dokey, just like it was some hokey dokey with the separation of a woman, putting her in the back seat, like Mary ain't got a book. And I found out Mary did have a book. They threw it out because that's a patrilineal system. They're written by men, okay? But which one you think might govern better or even have a better taste in the creator's mouth when they put men and women in a balance? Because everything on the planet is about balance, male and female, yin yang, electron, proton, all those particular things are balance. That's what they did in Kush and in Nubia and ancient Egypt. They had balance. They put the woman in divinity. Like you might have seen the video. I said that recognizing who you are, ladies. That was balance. That's what the creator was about. But this man had a problem with the female. So I'm saying come on, who you following? You following God or you following man? So God having favorites and all this old kind of stuff. Come on, man. Come on. A group of people. And a lot of Christians think just because people don't say Jesus or things of that nature, everybody going to hell. All these billions of people, because there's no good way. If they don't say Jesus and confess Jesus, this, that, and other, you're going to hell. Come on, man. Really? Of all these 7-8 billion people on the planet. Come on, man. We got to do better. It's time. It's 2024. It's time for some critical analysis and some higher conscious thinking. We can't keep in this stupor that we in. Yeah. So then he talked about, well, there's hundreds and there's thousands of religions and languages and all that. Yes, it is. But I suggest you read a book called The Cultural Unity of Black Africa by Shakanta Diop. And several of the people, that have written on and understanding that there's a common thread that permeates throughout the whole continent of Africa, even though they may have different languages and so-called, that some would say, different spirituality. There's a common thread that they all deal with. Just like I said, indigenous people are all alike in one degree, where nature is very important to them. They understand the creator's essence is in nature and everything around them. That's a common thread. They may call God something different. They may have a different name, a different way of expressing itself, but it's the same situation, the same belief system that they call Amen, the hidden one that no one has seen, that great spirit. And they use different aspects of God into different anthropomorphic images to make it plain for the people to understand the masculinity and the femininity in God. That's what they do. So they give a different name. They give the wind something nurturing, or fire something masculine, and call it, another name here, this, another. But they all understand it's all attributes of the creator. That's all. But the man has caused you and distorted that. Like I said, in order to make a good slave, I had to tear you away from all of that, any kind of understanding of who and what you were. That was his job to do. That was the only way that you can make a good slave. I had to take it all away from you and give you. Why did they burn books in Alexandria and other places? Why? It's not a fortress in a library. It ain't nothing to do you no harm in the library but some knowledge. Only two reasons that you would want to destroy a library. to not let you know something and take you in the direction that you want to go, that they want you to go to. That's all. So, we have to do due diligence and really understand this is time. This is time to start waking up. And like I said, the Arabs had their culture. They still have the cultures. Like all Arabs and stuff may not like each other, not at all. But they got a common thread, a common culture. Dr. Amos Wilson described us in here in America as a reactionary culture. Based on how the system has treated us, we come up with some kind of hodgepodge culture that we try to get along with in our complacency. So we are comfortable. There's so many fights that we should be a part of and engaged in that we don't even care. We don't care about at this particular point. We're not interested because we have accepted the place that we're in right now. Where's all the George Floyd stuff? Where everybody at? Where you at? You see, we quickly to forget. Just like some of these whites and stuff in this country, they really quickly forget the whole insurrection situation. They want you to forget about it like it ain't never happened. We was horrified when we seen it going on. You see how Mitch McConnell and all the rest of them, McCartney and all of them was down in Trump and saying this was crazy, this was horrible. After they got their thoughts together and the planning, they started recanting all of that, and they didn't even want to impeach him in reference to it. This is the country that you're living in, my friend. And they may elect him again. They got all these black folks talking all this old crazy stuff. Well, Trump was better than me. Yeah. Come on, man. All that stimulus stuff. You talking about the stimulus stuff that was created by Nancy Pelosi in the House. Trump just signed his name and he went for all none and all of that. And Biden came in and took it over, giving you money back. But you want to give Trump some credit because he took care of his business buddies, and you had a little small trickle down effect. Now you Trump. Look at the recent gaffes that he just said about black folks. That boy played. If you don't know if you don't know that ain't a serious con man, then something is wrong with you. Because that's what I was going to come down here initially talk about when I got back on this podcast. I was going to talk about how crazy we are in reference to that. Do you think you dealing with some Karens now? You think you dealing with some Karens now? Let them get back in office. You think the police is abusing you now for you black folks are thinking this, that, and other? You wait. Let them get back in office, and you're going to see how empowered the police is going to feel by he being in. They're going to beat your behind. I'll tell you. And just funny how we just go along and take on it. I don't know if he's paying these folks to come on. I don't know what it is, Come on. Of course, we in America. Ain't nobody did nothing for us. So we're going to suffer regardless on who's in office. Yeah, I get that and I understand that. I ain't jumping all on the Democrats bandwagon, like that. But it is the lesser of two evils. This man telling you right in front of your face what's going on. Where's your moral compass? You don't care about the man telling you what he think. At least Biden is faking the funk. This man telling you right in your face what he gonna do, what he's about. And he's showing you all his morals, all his shady dealings, all his underhand dealings. Right in your face. But you don't care no more. You don't care nothing about that no more. That ain't even an issue about who you following and who you letting lead you. Because you follow for that same crazy rhetoric that you're hearing out on the street somewhere. And think about all the people, think about all the insubordinate, non-qualified people that he put in his cabinet. You forgot about that? You see how quickly he forgot? Folks ain't had no experience in some of these major leading units and places, CIA, Pentagon, FBI, Homeland Security, even HUD and all this. These folks ain't had no experience in none of that because he put them in there to be loyalists, and he said he's gonna do it even worse this time if he get in. So even when they know he's wrong, they ain't gonna say nothing. Some of his people had to tell him, they had to put him in check several times because he wanted to sick the dogs on the citizens out there. Let's bring in the National Guard. They say, hold Trump, you can't do that. You can't deploy that kind of stuff to the people. You can't do that. He was ready to do it. Y'all forgot about that? How some of the people that they had that they was protesting in, they sent people that didn't have markings on their uniforms out there busting folks upside their head. So what you think is going to happen? When he opened the throttle on all of that, so they had to corral him because he was ready to sit there, sick the dogs. All you guys just sit here talking about protesting, yeah, okay. You watch it. You better not throw a damn rock, because they're gonna bust you upside your head. That's what's going on. And he already said ain't gonna be no protest. So but anyway, that's what I was gonna initially talk to us about. Like, come on, folks. I'm telling you, we are way too comfortable. Way too comfortable on what's going on. Way too comfortable. Not paying attention. So many crazy, insignificant things that we pay attention to. It's way too. So anyway, again, you got to understand the mentality, my good brother, of what a people that has been brainwashed does and go through. You can't expect these folks just not coming out of colonization. A lot of these countries' constitution is still based on a European philosophy and way of doing it. You got some of the African countries in there that when you go to court, they're wearing the Europe's white wigs on their head. Like, that's brainwashing. You can't expect them to do what the Arabs are doing up in Dubai and all the rest of those countries. You can't expect that. They're just coming around. They're starting to get rid of some of that stuff now. It's going to take some time. But once you got to understand, if your behind is out and you can't eat and you can't take care of, and there's somebody else controlling all of that, you are vulnerable. You are vulnerable to any agenda that is going on because you're trying to eat. You are hungry. And they did a good job of setting that all up. There's documents, there are papers, and there's been meetings that talked about we must control the southern equator, all the countries in the southern equator, Africa and things like that. That's the only way Europe in the northern part of this planet can survive. They have to suppress it. They have to keep it down. Like I said again, look at the YouTube video, Zygus, the addendum. Look at the first hour of that. And the guy who wrote the book, Economic Confessions of an Economic Hitman, he said and tell you what he did to keep those countries in order for the ones who wanted to go in there and do the right thing. Go check it out. Get some knowledge, get some understanding on some stuff before you sit up here and make these decisions and don't know what you're talking about. And having these opinions following somebody else that has an agenda that is not in the best interest of you. Come on, people. It's 2024. And some serious stuff is going down. And you're going to have to make some hard choices and some hard decisions on where we're going to go. We can't be sitting up here laughing it up and drinking it up, while some things is going down that might change the way how you live, your family, and things like that. So, my good brothers. So anyway, to my man, I just think we need to do a little bit more researching and studying, for you to really know the condition that is going on in Africa. And you cannot compare Africa to any other country in any other continent. You can't do it because they have, in the last 500 years, they haven't been free to move about and act freely and on their own devices. You know, Arabs came in and all the European countries came in and did what they did. Divide and conquered, brought diseases, brought weapons, stole the slave, so many atrocities and put their pawns in place. So many atrocities and things that it's caused Africa to be in the position that it is in right now. So you have to take all that into account. You can't look at the end result. You got to see what the root problem was before you start judging folks. Why is so much time and so much energy placed on keeping them black folks down like that? Why? And those are most of the Arab companies is dancing to America's beat because that's why America's is protecting them because of their oil, and they able to flourish and to do something. That's why. But they ain't trying to do that with Africa. Look what they did to Gaddafi, who talked about backing their money with gold and things like that. A United States of Africa. You got 4 presidents mysteriously died when they was backing up against COVID, the COVID vaccine. Mysteriously died. So that's what they're up against. And we got to build up a wall and a fortress to ward off that for people who might want to stand up and do something. Just like here in this country. If you have somebody in certain positions being a whistleblower, our community has to stand by and protect them. You can't leave them out there on. Give a quick case in point, then I'm going to close this. Like the 2 sisters that I forgot what city. I don't know if they was in Georgia or not. That they was jumped on saying that they was distorting the election, and the ones who just won that suit with Trump. Do you know all the threats and everything that they was having to deal with, and they had to go through that pretty much by themselves. Didn't nobody come to protect them or nothing, and we got nerve to say anything. So why don't you think people be scared to step up and say anything when they ain't gonna get anything, no backing from the community at all? How somebody gonna say something? How the police gonna say something? When they sit up here getting threats, death threats, and people doing this, throwing rocks at their house, shooting at their house, this, that, and other, and nobody in our community going out there to protect them. Huh. And then you sit back and criticize, why ain't nobody saying nothing? Why this, that, and other? Because you're not a community. You don't have a culture that is ingrained into you to understand the greater good for the greater number and willing to die for. That's why. So you're gonna be constantly being misused in third class citizens until you come to the light of understanding who you are and what you are. You're the first people on the planet, and you taught everybody. That's why you're so gifted, and everybody is trying to follow you. They don't have things on Facebook now showing the black Japanese, the black samurais. I've been taking pictures of a few of that. I knew that 20 years ago. There's a saying, in order to be a good samurai, one must have some black blood. We was all over the place. We taught the Chinese the martial arts and all of that. And we giving credit to somebody else. That's us. That's us. That's who we are. So know your history and know the condition that we in. But it's just for a short time. It's just for a short while. It ain't forever. It may seem like forever to us, but it's not forever. So that's all I want to say in closing. I hope you got something out of it, my people. I love you. I care about you. And I put myself out there for you as much as I can because I know where I'm at and where I'm living. We have to rally together. So, my folks, I love you. I got a lecture coming up March 16th. It's 2450 Prospect. Get your tickets. Drop me a line. Listen to the radio show this Saturday. The brother's going to be on my new Pim. He's from California. Sharp brother. 11 o'clock, 1490 WERE. Check out the show, or you can go online, www.newstalkcleveland.com, and click listen line, or you can catch it on The Journey with Antonio on my YouTube channel. Come on down and be a part, and let's get some knowledge and some inspiration so we can teach our kids and our babies. Until then, peace, my friends.